supporters. Thank you, Patreon supporters. I really appreciate it. We're going into the last year, and it's great to have all you guys here for this. This time I want to thank Sean Hayter. He pledged his support at patreon.com/Jason Kavassi. So thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Did you know that Patreon supporters are better looking, more better liked, and more likely to live longer than those who don't support on Patreon?
Yeah,
that's a scientific fact.
Who support via Patreon tend to be the better looking ones. That's true.
Yeah, it's just true.
All right, let's move on.
Attention shoppers, Deadcast Top 5 in 5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, it's our Deadcast Top 5 this week. It's our top 5 highlights for The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 1, Acheron, Part 1.
Woohoo!
Acheron or Acheron? What would you say? Acheron, right?
It's Greek, so I would say Acheron,
I think
probably.
that seems right to me. Let's just decree.
Yes, we've decided that.
That's it. So you liked it, huh? What'd you think?
Oh, loved it. So dark, so atmospheric. Just really good to be back. And I think, as people might have guessed from listening to the last couple of podcasts, I had lost track of time and hadn't realised it was coming up so soon. And it was just the most wonderful surprise. And I was happy to find myself watching The Walking Dead again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, that is...
There were bits that we'll talk about, but overall, I really liked it.
It's a cool feeling, though, when your life gets busy with other stuff and something that you would have normally been waiting for if you weren't so busy just appears and it's like, oh... Nice.
Yeah. It's lovely. It's a lovely kind of surprise where you're like, oh, especially when the last year has been a lot. It felt like time was dragging on forever, and it's just nice to feel that things are picking up again a little bit.
And speaking of dark, I mean, sometimes like watching that cave episode again, I could barely see what was going on. And I do you think it matters what screen you're watching it on, because I don't remember it being that dark the first time I watched it, but either way, sometimes this show has a problem with being too like literally dark so you can't tell what's going on. But I think they did a really good job in this episode of creating this awesome creepy environment in the subway, but I could totally see everything, right? Could you?
Yes, yeah. It was amazing. I don't know if the term is saturated or desaturated, but the kind of blues and greys and that sort of darker palette really worked because you could still pick out detail. Because I also think I had this theory for a while that it's also the time of year when you watch, because I remember Game of Thrones for a while was coming out around about April, and all the big battle scenes, it wouldn't be dark at nighttime when I was watching them, so I'd have to like close my curtains and try and pick it out that way. So yeah, I wonder if it's because we're watching in summer and, you know, the screen is lighter generally because it's not getting dark as early. That's my crap scientific theory, but I did feel they made an effort to make things visible and pick out detail, which was really appreciated.
I suspect, and I don't know, but maybe they're just trying to keep an eye on that of using whatever film techniques make it so that we can actually see what they're watching, even though when they want to show a dark sequence.
Yeah.
I thought the episode was great. There's parts of it that I feel are a little questionable or a little bit like I have to go, all right. But overall, I thought it was phenomenal. Just very good drama, thrills, laughs. You know, a great setup for the season, or at least for the first part of the season here. So thumbs up for me.
Same.
All right, what's number 5?
Number 5, I thought I would talk about Acheron and the symbolism of Acheron. Awesome. So I went to the very handy Wikipedia and did some digging with some old dictionaries and things. So in ancient Greek mythology, Acheron was known as the river of woe. So there were 5 rivers in the Greek underworld, and Acheron is one of them. In the poems of Homer, so classical poet, the Acheron was a river that ran into Hades, so the underworld. And the Acheron also was where the rivers Cocytus and Phlegethon both flowed, and Cocytus was the river.
We were going to name our kids that, but
Cocytus and Phlegethon.
Phlegethon, yeah.
Said in my beautiful voice, and I'm sure all the classical Greek scholars who are listening are like, "You're ruining the language." So Cocytus or Cocytus was the river of wailing, and Phlegethon was the river of fire. So I like this idea that anguish kind of comes from, you know, anguish and woe and fire all together. So Virgil Roman dude, called it the principal river of Tartarus, from which the Styx and the Cocytus both sprang. So a little bit different. The Styx, I think I'd heard of the river Styx before. It's the river of kind of invulnerability, so it's named after a god.
Of course, there's the band that was named after that, so it's probably more in people's consciousness.
Exactly. And the newly dead would be ferried across the Acheron by Charon, who was the ferryman of Hades, in order to enter the underworld. And Hades, we use that to mean hell. Hades is the underworld, but it's also the god of the underworld. So it's lots of really kind of complex, but also not quite complex Greek mythology symbolism there. I like the idea that Maggie in some ways is the ferryman here,
I think so.
leading them into.
Yeah.
And I think it really ties into this idea that things are getting sinister AF. Like there's a real sinister atmosphere here, and this idea of the river flowing in the subway. So I was about to call it the underground, and I'm like, no, that's not what you call it in America. The river, the threat of the river in the subway,
We have
it's
UK
dried
listeners
up.
too, but yeah.
Yeah, it's the river is dried up, but there's still bodies and blockages and a lot of fear and a lot of tension. And I just thought the whole idea of this river of the underworld really worked for this episode, and I'm excited to see what happens next week.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Acheron is what Negan would have named this episode, you know?
Yes.
Because he feels like he's being ferried into hell.
Yeah, well, Negan's kind of like the Greek chorus in this. He's the one pointing out, this is stupid,
Yeah,
this is going to go badly. That annoying feeling when that person you hate is kind of right. You're like, yeah, it's a really bad idea, actually. He's not wrong. It's,
Absolutely.
yeah, so it's quite interesting, this idea as well of like Maggie being so blinded by her rage that she's not making rational decisions, and it's getting into this very sinister underworld kind of era, and she can't really see through the darkness. She just wants to push on and push people into that situation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was a really weighty title, but I thought it paid off and it tied in really well with what we saw in the episode. And I think as well, we're seeing those at the Commonwealth as well are being transported across into something new. And while we don't yet know if that's an underworld or not, it's this idea of sort of movement and moving into new spaces that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, and it's scary. The unknown is always scary.
Absolutely, especially when it's dark.
All right, I'm going to talk about the thrilling aspects of this episode, or yeah, and part of that is the whole opening sequence where they're going into this, I guess, army installation, right, to get food and supplies, and there's all these army Zeds. Looks like they're dead or sleeping on the floor, but they're clearly being careful, so apparently they're asleep, which, my first thought was, well, that seems new. That's a little jarring. Like, they don't do that. And then in the behind the scenes video at the end, Angela Kang talked about roamers and lurkers, and that we've seen lurkers before. So I'm like, yeah, in the comic that they're not even called walkers, they're called roamers or lurkers. The roamers roam around, the lurkers just kind of hang out. But I think we have seen that in the show for sure. We've seen zombies just like hanging out in houses and stuff until somebody shows up. But I don't think we've ever seen them laying there like with their eyes closed, dormant like that, They're usually standing.
Did you play that game in like kindergarten or like playgroup where you all had to pretend, it's like Sleeping Dragons, you all have to pretend to be asleep and someone kind of has to get round without anybody waking up and kind of grabbing them? It sort of reminded me of that.
I didn't play that, but it sounds fun. But it was hard. Like, this sequence didn't work as well for me as I wish it had, because it was really fun. But there's, I think, mainly two reasons why. Because even though we've seen lurkers technically before in the show, we've never seen anything like this. So it felt like the rules had changed to me. Like, what? Wait a minute. There's different, like, all of a sudden the zombies changed their behavior. I mean, I know maybe you could say technically they did, but it just felt like that to me because we've definitely never seen that many of them. So I'm probably just being too picky, and I should get over that. And probably for this next point too, but it felt a little over the top, like I was watching Mission Impossible with their, flak jackets and the pulleys and
I think every time someone sees a pulley, we're a little bit Mission Impossible.
Yeah. Well, the music was all tick, 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 like dun, dun, dun. And Daryl's like throwing knives from up above, totally nailing zombies. I'm like, really? But it was cool to see the whole gang in action, including Rosita and Lydia. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, she's integrated a bit more, and Kelly with their slingshot, and it kind of reminded me of the opening of season 3, which is awesome just because it was silent and active. They're kicking ass and everything, and the escalating action, and Maggie with her machine gun was pretty cool. So it was cool, but I did feel a little taken out of it by these sleeping zombies, and also just feeling like maybe a bit over the top Mission Impossible style. I don't know.
Well, funny you should mention that, because that is actually one of my top 5. So I will talk about it also. So I see what you mean. What my kind of thoughts on it are, I liked the atmosphere it set up. I liked it in theory, but the same as you, I think I felt a little bit of like, they're all asleep. All these walkers are asleep. Okay. So they go into standby mode. That's something that we've not really covered before. I like the stakes of it being really quiet. I think there was another zombie film tribute moment in there. Do you know what I'm going to talk about?
I don't know. Day of the Dead?
The Drop of Blood.
Oh, 28 days later.
28 days later,
Although
yeah.
if Ben's listening, he's saying, that's not a zombie movie.
No. Another film which is commonly misattributed as a zombie movie has a pointed moment where a very small drop of blood falls in the face.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And it causes havoc. So I kind of like those kind of stakes there.
Only in that movie, it was a drop of zombie blood or infected blood falling on a human.
Healthy.
Turning them. Yeah, but this is like the opposite. But yeah,
the opposite way. So I quite like that. I was like, oh, that's cool. I hope it was deliberate.
Yeah, me too.
I think visually it was really interesting. But yeah, in terms of, I mean, we've seen roofs collapse before. Like, that was a season opener back in season 4. The roof collapsing at the supermarket. I've seen Carol getting a lot of hate in the reviews for going back for that food at the end. But I kind of thought Carol was in the right there to go and grab that food.
What's they're there for?
Yeah, I don't know, people are like, Carol made another really stupid, reckless decision. And I'm like, I mean, it wasn't that far away, and they really need food. Like, it's really evident that they need it. So I'm like, after everything she did last year.
Yeah, I'd say it's not clearly just reckless Carol. It's at least debatable. And she had people up there with their bows and arrows and throwing knives to cover her.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a dramatic moment.
It was. But yeah, generally, I thought it was cool. I thought it was interesting that the stakes are so high, because part of me was like, well, this is, I think, what they do in Alexandria in the next scene by highlighting just how bad the situation is with food goes a long way to justify what we see in the
gotta take
beginning.
Risks because you're going to starve otherwise.
You got to take the risks. Yeah, because clearly that's somewhere that's been overrun for so long that it's been written off. But yeah, the handy expedient of having the zombies be sleeping was interesting. I'm going to withhold judgment on that. I mean, they also used it twice in the same episode, so I'm sort of like,
that's true.
Hopefully, hopefully we have a little less of this. But overall,
I didn't even think about that.
Overall, I'm willing to give it a pass, and I like the final shot of Maggie, Carol, and Daryl looking down, because they're obviously the 3 that we're most invested in, because they're the originals, basically. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Carol and Daryl season 1, Maggie season 2, so that felt like a nice way to set it up. And the opening shot of Daryl's vest as he kind of looks out over the action was pretty cool. It felt very epic. It was a big swing. I don't know that it landed, but I'm fine with them trying.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was fun, and it was a little distracting, certain elements of it, but whatever. I'm probably just being too picky. I mean, it's so hard to stage new and exciting sequences with zombies all the time 11 years in. So.
And I think there is some logic to, like, if they're not getting stimulated, they might kind of go quiet. Like, we know that, you know, they definitely get more agitated when humans are nearby. Like, I'm thinking about the walkers in Herschel's barn, who were pretty vocal.
Standing, though. Yeah.
They were standing, they weren't lying down. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't very humane. There wasn't a lot of space for them in there, I have to say. But yeah.
I think the free range zombies, that's more.
The free range organic zombies, better. Please. None of this factory farm nonsense.
Well, I mean, what did work for me, though, as far as thrills go, was the whole subway sequence. The dark subway, great environment. I don't think we've really seen that before. Also, I like that it was kind of huge. It's just a cool scene, and the flashlights shining everywhere made it feel very cinematic. Although flashlights still work, I guess they must have a flashlight expert that knows how to put it back together or something. The pipes groaning was so great because like, and then Negan's like, "What the hell is that?" And Alden's like, "The storm's pushing air through the pipes, making them groan. It's nothing serious. We're good." And then it's like, super loud. That's so funny. And then there's a graffiti that says, "If there's a God, he will have to beg for my forgiveness."
That was really cool.
Which I guess
I really liked that.
Just like, I'm like, well, what's the story behind that? And I'm like, well, there was a zombie apocalypse. That's the story.
I love the kind of environment they were building down there and this sort of urban, because like between Alexandria, Hilltop, and the Kingdom, it's very agrarian, very like, you know, countryside. Like we don't get the urban a lot in this show anymore, which is funny because it really started off in that space. Uh-huh. And seeing that kind of dark, built up, sort of mechanical way of doing things with graffiti and things like that, I just find that really refreshing and really sinister.
I mean, I think it's more expensive. It's a lot cheaper to film in the forest, but I love when they go back to the city. Like the whole Princess episode last season was great.
In Pittsburgh, that was brilliant. In Pittsburgh, yes.
And the behind the scenes video, Angela Kang said there's a theme of class this season, which if you know the comics, that makes sense. And but it starts with the background story of the subway where different classes clash always in the subway. You know, there's always different classes together. I don't know. I didn't really see much more. Well, I didn't understand. Like they see all these bagged bodies and they're not killed, but their throats are slashed, and Maggie thinks that they got killed, you know, during the fall, she calls it, but Negan's not sure. So I don't really understand what the hell is going on with them.
It's interesting. The other thing that was quite pointed was the sign America Against Racism.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I think Daryl steps over it, and that kind of stood out to me. I was like, oh, because that's obviously got implications for how class works in America and how systems of power work. So it's interesting that they leaned in really hard to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's another new theme, which is great. Even at the end here, they're introducing new themes. I love it because they didn't for the first 8 years.
It's been a while.
Yeah. So, but even though I don't know if we were supposed to know what went on with the bag bodies, that it made it all that more creepier, especially when the camera looked down the narrow passageway of the subway and they're all just laying there and you hear growls here and there. That's pretty cool.
And just that threat of who's going to wake up, like a horrible game of whack-a-mole. You're just like, oh no, this is so horrible. Stabbing
him. And then at the end, of course, the Zeds come and everyone's scrambling to get on the train, which was thrilling. I guess Dog went underneath, so Daryl followed him under there.
Yeah, Daryl went looking for Dog. He's like, Dog!
So yeah, just the whole setup being underground and dark and creepy and noises. It was a great background for the tension between Maggie and Negan, which was really like the centerpiece of that whole thing. So, what's your next one?
I'm just thinking about the tunnel and if there's anything else I wanted to add about it. No, I think you covered it. It was really cool, and coming up on that abandoned subway car and the collapsed tunnel, it's just brilliant. Really, really good.
And it's like I said, it's hard to stage a convincing, threatening situation with zombies anymore, especially new ones. But I pretty much fell for this one. You know, all the Zeds started coming and they didn't want to go past the train because somebody said it's a choke point and we don't know what's on the other side. Okay, fine. So they decided to climb on top, to me, which they decided to climb on top, which seems smart to me. Get up, get higher, you know, and get away from them. And so I was there for that. I didn't feel like it was not staged well. I thought it was staged well, in other words.
Definitely. And I think my next point I've titled Negan isn't wrong, but then he is. Which is, Negan is actually, I would say, up till about the last 10 minutes, pretty much the voice of reason in this episode. And I think the interaction where he kind of lays out what Maggie is doing is really interesting. And it's interesting to see this kind of status dynamic where Negan is so uncomfortable and being really bullied by everyone else. And I'm not like, oh no, he's being bullied, that's so mean. Just like, people really don't respect him. And for somebody who's built his whole empire on like people just listening to what he says and listening to his swagger, it's so interesting to see him. I'm actually enjoying this more than when he was in prison, because in prison he's still a little bit like, oh, he's the prisoner, he's Negan, you know, he's in prison. Whereas this, he's just like any other dude, only everyone fucking hates him.
He's like being bullied. Yeah, you said it.
Yeah, and like trying to say to Daryl, like, hey man, and Daryl's like, you think we're buddies? And I'm like, oh.
Dang.
Yeah, so I thought that was quite an interesting power play, and I thought it was interesting that the way they staged it. You've got Gage, the older dude, and Alden kind of physically on Negan's side, and then on the other side you've got kind of Team Maggie, Gabriel, and Daryl. And you sort of remember at that point, Alden used to be a savior, so this must feel really friggin' strange for him to have suddenly have Negan there.
Yeah.
But Alden is like, at one point, he's like, look, he's an asshole, but he's right. And then they actually lose Gage and the other guy.
That was the other kid who said that, not Alden.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I thought it was Alden. Doesn't Alden agrees with him though?
I don't think so. No. Does he?
I feel like he says he
Maybe
makes
you're
a point
right.
out.
Yeah.
I'm like, I watched it twice. I clearly did not.
It could
line,
be, but yeah, the other kid was the one that said he's a dick, but he's right. If I maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, either way, some people agree with him, but Alden definitely said, I feel like I want to stuff a rag in your mouth or something, and Negan's like, well, if you get on your tippy toes, maybe you can climb up here and try or something like that.
Fun fact about watching The Walking Dead in my house, Peter hates Alden. Every time he comes on screen, he's like, oh god, that guy. And I'm like, why'd you hate him? He's like, he's such a sanctimonious, like, he just went on this whole rant about how much he hates Alden.
Wow.
He's like, you can just picture him turning around and being like, I was like, I love him, he's really cute, he sings. And Peter's like, you can just picture him saying shit like, I think savior's a really reductive term. And I'm like, I was like, okay, right. So he's calling him the apocalypse hipster.
It's
so
funny. Well, a lot of times we are annoyed by the people who like hold up to a mirror to our own qualities. So
well
does Peter listen to this?
Jason,
hi Peter, I'm just kidding.
You're not wrong. I just think that's a really reductive term, actually. As soon as the big bulbous bloaty Zed came out, I was like, Negan is going to have to hit him in the head with a bat, because that's how he's going to kill him, and that's going to give us all a horrible memory of what he did to Glenn. I was unsurprised that nobody went to help Negan. I liked the conflict it led to with Maggie. I liked his point, because I did think this point myself is, why am I your DC tour guide? Can nobody here read a goddamn map?
Right.
I mean, Daryl can't, because he leaves them out to get wet and then has a temper tantrum. But everyone else can read a map. And I think his line about, living rent-free in Maggie's head, very true. When he talks about being put down like a dog like Glenn was, I've written, oh, Negan, fuck you, at that point. But I think that is him trying to provoke Maggie into killing him. I think he just wants it done at that point.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I mean, yeah, that's a good point, because he's saying, hey, you brought me here so you can kill me, set up some situation where you can justify it, quote unquote, but I'm not going to die like a dog, like, let's get this over with right now. Maybe you're right. It's just to provoke a confrontation right in the moment on his own terms. But I also thought the way that Jeffrey Dean Morgan played that line, because I read in an interview, he says he fought against having to say that. I think he really wants Negan to be likable.
Oh, JDM is like, Team Negan, redeem me.
Yeah, he's like, how about if I say, wasn't Glenn great? No, I'm just kidding.
How about I say, Maggie, I'm so sorry I killed your husband. I carry it with me every day.
Yeah, how about that? But anyways, I felt like the way he delivered that line was, I don't want to go down like a dog like Glenn, meaning I know that you still hate me for what I did, and that's why you brought me here. And you're going to try to do the same thing to me. You know what I mean? I mean,
I know what you mean.
It was still, even if that was the way he meant to say it, he probably shouldn't have brought it up.
Yeah. But then, obviously, it all changes. Everyone scales the subway car. They realize Gage and the other dude have gone. Walkers are coming. They get up there. Maggie is left in a kind of, someone in a review referred to it as a Lion King moment. Spoilers for the Lion King, anyone who hasn't seen it. And Negan chooses not to help her. Yeah, what do you think, Jason? Do you think he was right or wrong?
Well, I think that it was really interesting when he talked about, you just brought me down here to have an excuse to kill me. And I'm like, maybe he has a point about that. I'm not sure she engineered this whole thing just to maneuver him into a vulnerable place where she can kill him and get away with it, but I'm not sure she didn't do that. Or maybe it could be something that she didn't consciously do, but it is in her mind. And either way, whether it's planned or not, I think it's dangerous for Negan to be in a situation out here like this with Maggie. And he rightly senses that. I think there's no denying that. She even says it, But she also says, I'm down here because up top is death. And we're moving fast because our kids are starving. And I'm calling you shots because that's how everyone voted. And in the moment anyway, I believed all that maybe Negan's just being paranoid here, So, I mean, it's great. Walking Dead is great about presenting two sides and not being definitive about either one. So it gets us thinking and arguing and everything. So I'm not positive that Maggie brought him down here just to kill him, but I definitely do think that he's right to worry about it. But she goes on, it's always on my mind. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong about me because you aren't. The woman who left 6 years ago is not the one standing over you now. There's a little bit of her left in me, and that little bit is the only thing keeping you breathing. But I don't know how long it's going to last. So keep pushing me, Negan. So I think that was her saying, look, just shut up and toe the line here and you'll be fine. Maybe that. But then there was a little nagging thing that, why isn't he in jail? Why isn't he in his cell at this point? They brought him along because he knows DC. Aren't there any other locals in the group? And also, like Negan says, can't they read a map? Which that actually does give credence to the idea that they don't actually need him there, and that was just Maggie's excuse so she could find a time to kill him, So I don't know. I mean, I think Negan's right to be worried, but I don't think that was the right thing to do, just being smart, because if she doesn't die, she's going to come back and he's fucked. And
she's going to be even more pissed.
Yeah. And B, either way, they're going to suspect him. In fact, they're probably just going to assume that he did something, I would think. So I don't think it was a smart thing to do, but I do think it fits with his character. But like I've said,
I agree with you there, definitely.
In season 10, I think that, in the comic by this time, it's much simpler in the comic. He was in a cell. And then he escaped and he wanted to prove his loyalty. So he went and he killed Alpha. And there was none of that stuff about betrayal. And people forget still, even though I've talked about it so much, I've got people messaging me saying, don't you think Negan has redeemed himself? And I'm like, well, except for that thing. I mean, I'm going to just mention this one more time because people seem to not understand, but he this one thing where he's with the Whisperers, who are the enemy, the bad guys, and he Gamma is a Whisperer who's decided to be a spy and defect over and help the good guys. Negan told on her instead of helping her. So in that moment, he's not with the good guys anymore. And because he did that, Beta went over and killed a bunch of people in Alexandria. All those people would be alive if Negan hadn't ratted Gamma out. So it's not as simple as it is in the comics. But I think the reason why the show's doing this with his character, making it different, is because they want to keep Negan edgy and dangerous, because conflict is where drama comes from, and they want Negan to be central to the story in the last season since he's such a big character and JDM does such a great job playing him. And so I think in the comics by this time, I think he's pretty much not in the story for this last arc, right? Maybe he makes like one or two
he's
quick
exiled.
Yeah,
he and Maggie have a final epic showdown, and then he's exiled.
He's gone. So he's not even in the story. But I think smartly they see what a great character they have with JDM playing him, and he's a fan favorite, so they want to keep him around. And the way they do that is to make him less loyal than he was in the comic, make him more dangerous, and keep this drama going so that he can be central to the story. So I don't know. I think so. Just basically what I'm saying is I don't think that was the smart thing that he did with Maggie, but I do think that it goes along with his character at this point.
Yeah, I think he's kind of damned if he does and damned if he doesn't with Maggie in terms of saving her or not saving her. Because if he saves her, that's not going to change her mind. Like, he knows that. He's like, I'll save her. You know, it might help me with the group, but she's still going to want to kill me. But I also think if he doesn't do it, like you say, yeah, she dies. They're all going to know he's going to get blamed for it.
Yeah. I think it's slightly worse to do it, to leave her like that. Because if he did save her, I mean, she's already indicated that if he toes the line that he'll be okay. So if he saves her, that might get him a few points with her. Might not, but it might. But definitely not saving her is not going to win any points.
But I think you're right in that. I'm glad they had him do that, though.
Me too.
I think it makes it more interesting that he walked away.
One of those holy shit Walking Dead moments, like back when Shane shot Otis. Like, it was great cliffhanger, you know.
Yeah,
it was like, holy shit. Because I thought, I mean, the predictable boring thing would have been for him to save her and try to continue to prove himself, you know, and that would have probably been a lot of people who just want to see Negan as being redeemed. They probably would have loved that, but I don't think it would have been as good for the story in the show, you know. Drama and conflict
it's also
is better.
You know, there's a little bit of reap what you sow as well. I mean, Maggie's entirely got her reasons for how she's treating Negan. There's no denying it. Like, I'm not going to grudge her that. But, you know, yeah, what motivation does he have? You know, in that moment, having given the conversation they've just had, where he's basically had a bit of confirmation that is what she was aiming to do, you know, or at least she hasn't denied it. In the short term, yeah, why wouldn't you just let her fall? you know?
I guess. I mean, I also think part of the conflict with Negan is the good stuff, because he's saved Judith's life, protected Lydia last season, and in this very episode, there's a lot of things that make you feel for him, like everyone's bullying him, like walking past him and kind of nudging him, you know, and telling him, you don't get a vote, asshole, when he's like, maybe we should wait out this storm, you know, saying smart things. I mean, I thought that was even a little bit heavy-handed, like when Daryl, he's like, maybe we shouldn't go in here, there's like a water line and it could flood, and Daryl's like, you don't get to call the shots. And I'm like, well, come on. I mean, it really clearly is like the writers trying to make us feel for Negan here in a way that makes some of the other characters look stupid. But maybe they just are like, I don't care, whatever comes out of this guy's mouth is bullshit, so I guess I can believe it.
Maybe they're just really pleased Maggie's back, and they're like, yeah, we're going to show you how much we like you and how much we hate him.
I guess, but you know what I mean, though. It felt a little
Maggie
bit
turns
like,
her back, and
really?
Daryl's like, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Hey, you know how it is, okay?
Yeah, it'll be fine. Once she's gone, we'll be cool.
Yeah.
So, I don't mean it. Yeah. So it's interesting. I just thought it was a well played kind of thing, and I'm glad that I hope we don't have a Negan Maggie argument every week, but I thought this one. Oh, sorry, a train's going by quite noisily.
Is
you can tell
Negan
that we're
on
talking
top?
about a tunnel. Yeah, Negan's on top, going.
Twirling
I
his
hope we
mustache.
don't have a twirling his beard. Like, I hope we don't have a massive prolonged conversation about it every week. But I
know,
thought
me
this one
too.
was good.
Well, Maggie's dead, so apparently.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hundo P.
Yeah,
There's
100%.
no doubt in my mind that she's definitely dead.
She's clearly not going to die, so
Yeah.
we know that it probably was dumb of Negan to do that, just given that. But he doesn't know that.
Glenn probably told her his dumpster trick, so that's all.
Right. So I mean, this is my next point is just all about sort of keeping Negan central to the story in this last season through this conflict by making him still be dangerous. And I was asking myself, okay, do I prefer what happened with comic book Negan or show Negan? I'm fine with them keeping him more dangerous in the show as long as it feels like it all makes sense with this character, that they have a good sense of his character, and whatever they have him do, either way, whether it's something good or something bad, makes sense with it. So to me, you know, he betrayed people, so that means he's not trustworthy, not fully rehabilitated. But the way that JDM plays the character, he's so relatable that I think, I don't know, it makes it more confusing, or it makes me feel like I have to argue with a lot of the viewers who don't see that he's done both, you know, that they just want him to be good. And so because of that, I kind of wish they'd have just had him be loyal like in the comics and then it would be simpler for me.
For me, it's comic book every day of the week. I just think they did it so well there. Like issue 174 of the comic where he and Maggie face off is just, to me, one of the absolute best issues that they've ever done. So I'm always going to be a little like, oh, it's a shame that they didn't kind of play it that way, but it's so much easier to do that on the page than when people are attached to actors.
Well, if they could have figured out a way to keep him in the story without making him, because in the comic he just has decided, I want to prove myself to these people, and then he tries to do that. And in the show it's more like, I don't know, in this case it's makes more sense for me, he's just out for himself and he will betray anyone, it seems like. So then it's like I said, I think the reason they did that is because they want to keep him central, and so there's more drama in that. But maybe they could have just made him be a flat out hero in the last season. I don't know.
Could he ever do that though? Could he ever really be a hero after what he did?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard. I'm glad. Don't get me wrong. I like watching him. I'm definitely getting entertainment out of it. But yeah, when it's a typical, like a binary question of comic or show, I think the comic does it better. I'd go for comic.
So you'd rather have it be like the comic and then have JDM not be a part of this last season?
I'm not as attached to JDM as some are. Yeah. Like, I like him. I do. But I think there's power in making an exit sometimes.
Absolutely.
I think it can be really poignant, but it worries me a little bit. I'll be honest with you. Like, the kind of, particularly from female fans, the level of adoration for Negan really worries me. Like, it scares me quite a lot that there seems to be, because they've cast this really good looking act. Well, I mean, I don't know if he looks a bit like my uncle, so I feel really weird saying good looking. Like, I don't know that I do think he's good looking, but clearly appealing to a lot of people. It scares me that this mold of quite a violent, abusive man is something that people find very attractive. So that is a weird area for me. I find that a bit strange.
Well, I mean, I do too, but I get it because he has...
You love him.
He's done... I mean, he saved... I keep mentioning this, but he saved Judith's life and he saved Lydia, and he's shown that he does care about some people, and I don't know. I'm just, I guess, trying to make sure that our listeners who do still adore Negan know that I understand.
Yeah, no, I can totally see it. For me, it's there's a bit of squick about it. There's a bit of like, I don't know. It's a kind of male figure that I don't personally find super attractive, but they are effectively bringing out empathy for him in me, and I think at times I've been more empathetic than maybe you have about things, so it's they're definitely provoking conversations. But yeah, I find it, especially season 7, season 8, the amount of kind of fan love for him, and the kind of sort of fan fiction and cosplay you would see, did freak me out a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this isn't okay.
I have felt incredibly empathetic towards him, with, like, when he was helping, or he met that mother and son, or what else, when he was hugging Lydia and trying to comfort Lydia. He's been kind to Judith, and there's been, I mean, it's clear that he's a complicated person, but I think of things like you bring up every once in a while about in terms of justice, and not only that, but just practical. Like, if you had someone like this in your life that showed you kindness, but would kill someone else without a thought and then chuckle about it, I would hope that you could get past your own warmth towards the person and realize, maybe this isn't a good person to have around, Maybe
this is toxic Neganinity.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. I hate to go too far down that road, because I know that a lot of listeners do, and it's just a TV show, and I mean, like, freaking Luke in General Hospital, Luke and Laura. I used to love that show so much, and I love that couple, and they went and had adventures and everything. And everyone forgets that when they first were in their storyline together, he raped her in the middle of a dance floor. And that was really disturbing. I mean, he became this anti-hero that everyone loved, so they kept him around, and they, kind of changed his character so he was more heroic. I think that's sort of similar to what's happened with Negan, only he's not as heroic as Luke became. But still, it's pretty common for people to be attracted to bad boys.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I'm sure I've got ones where I'm like, oh yeah, they're fine, let's do this. But it does interest me with Negan that there is a bit of collective amnesia, I think, about it. And I do think you raise good points about why he isn't redeemable and why what he did is unforgivable. But, and I also, poor Jeffrey Dean Morgan, he clearly, is not very comfortable with this.
And he's done such a good job of, like, if they had followed the story of the comics, I would have been like, damn, that's impressive. You got me to like Negan after all of that, because he's so likable. And if he hadn't betrayed them with the Whisperers a couple of times like that, I was ready to be turned around on Negan. Like, I don't know, some people just think that I'm just like anti-Negan no matter what, but I was ready for it until he did those things. And then I'm like, okay, no, like, I do think people can be rehabilitated and over time, prove that they've changed, but he hasn't. He's changed, but he's still dangerous.
He's a liability. But he also, I think what he points out there well in this episode is that for once it's not him that's the liability, it's Maggie. The fact that he's there that's the liability, and that's an interesting shift, and he's not comfortable with it, and he knows he's got a target on his back, and Maggie's little posse have all just turned up. So
it was I agree, it was such a great sequence when he's pointing it out. I thought you were in on it, Daryl, but clearly with that blank look on your face, you don't know what I'm talking about. But Maggie brought me down here to kill me, and it was just such a tense moment, and it was fantastic.
Also, great shout out to Daryl's blank look on his face, where he's just like, "What?"
Like, that's the same look he always
we're
has.
dog.
All right, let's move on to another point.
Yeah, it's the same look he has all the time. All right, I will follow on from that. It's just a short one. Team Maggie's little team that have turned up.
Oh yeah.
I'm interested to see how many of them are red shirts. Who's going to get killed off quite quickly.
That's what we always think, Fodder, zombie fodder.
Yeah. I think there's going to be more to this story than meets the eye. I don't quite buy into Jason Miles' theory that Maggie is a Reaper, but I do think that some stuff has happened that we're going to find out more about. And I think I'm very intrigued by the fact that this Meridian place is so friggin' nearby. Like, I know, huh? Maggie, if she was at Meridian, was clearly actually not that far away. So I'm a little confused about that. Part of me really doesn't buy that there's this settlement that's still going to have food and it's all going to still be there. And so I'm sort of feeling like they're maybe on a bit of a Suicide Squad mission here. I don't know that it's something that's actually going to bear fruit.
Literally, figuratively.
Literally, yeah. I thought it was kind of a cute detail that Maggie has told people about Alexandria and also told them about Negan, and there is a little bit of like, is that him? And she's like, yeah, and they're like, boo. I found that quite entertaining. And I do get the feeling that Maggie has seen some shit and is changed. There's like a real anger to her that I don't think was there before.
Actually, after Negan killed Glenn, I think she changed after that.
Yes, I think whatever that was has kind of calcified and gotten bigger. Yeah. It seems to be more of that, please. Maggie and her team, I think their names were, I did write them down. Duncan was the tall guy with the shoulders, Frost, the other guy, and Agatha. And obviously we've met Cole in the bottle episodes, the COVID episodes. So I'm intrigued to see how many of them make it out. And I'm also, I want to know more about what happened at Meridian. I want to know more because I think there's some dark stuff that we're only just touching on. And I, for one, am a little bit scared of the Reapers. This whole tunnel situation is putting me on edge a little bit, so I want to find out more about that backstory.
Yeah, I care about them a little more than I did. Well, a lot more, but still not a lot. But no, I mean, maybe I'm caring about them more. I'm more intrigued than I was. Before, it just felt like they were yet another group and tired concept and everything. But when she talked about what happened at Meridian, she said she and some of her people, which happened to be these ones right there, Cole, Frost, Agatha, and Duncan, were leading a horde of Zeds away from Meridian, and they felt like they were being tripped up. She was kind of vague about it, but she said in hindsight maybe that wasn't an accident, so maybe the Reapers did it somehow. Anyways, when they got back, the Reapers had slaughtered most of their people, and they lost their place. And I think she said there's livestock and farm there, so that's why she thinks there's food. But she said the people that attacked us, we only know two things about them. They come at night, and by the time you see them, you're already dead. And then I think the last thing she said was because they caught that one who blew himself up. For some reason, she thought because he was by himself, that meant there aren't that many of them. I don't really know if that logic checks out, but I think that's what she said.
Yes. I'm dubious about there being not that many of them.
Yeah, right. Who knows? But I think it's a good setup for the beginning of the season. They have a week's worth of food left, which we saw an exciting scene of them getting. And then because the Whispers destroyed their crops and messed up their hunting grounds, they're desperate. So their desperate times call for desperate measures. Maggie suggests retaking Meridian, where these really bad guys are, and there they go. So cool.
I really I need to go and watch episode 2. I need answers.
I
I'm
know.
itching for answers.
I gotta watch it right after this.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Right. How about you?
So my last point. This is actually my last point. Is about the whole inquiry sequence, of course, because we haven't talked about that yet. With Eugene, Ezekiel, and Yumiko and Princess being questioned. That was my favorite part of the episode.
That was also my number 1. Yay!
Because it was so well done. It was kind of intimidating. The music goes along with that, but it's also really funny. So they had just the right amount of intimidatingness, but also funniness in there. And there were several where Eugene with the zip codes killed me.
Oh, that was. Do you remember yours?
I was laughing out loud. No, not really. I don't think so.
I think I could. I think if I tried, I could. So I feel like I'm maybe a Eugene here.
What was your zip code, Yumiko? How can anyone possibly be expected